In Congress, 4 July 1776, a declaration by the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conduct peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. May God bless the United States of America, lads.
When Gates, in the summer of 1777, was appointed to command of the Northern Army, he asked several officers to go along with him, and one of them was Kosciusko. So one of the first things that they did to acquaint themselves with the new command was to go to Ticonderoga. Ticonderoga was a strong fortification. It was this huge stone fortress. Some people referred to it at that time as the Gibraltar of America. Fort Ticonderoga was originally built as Fort Caroline by the French during the French and Indian Wars, at a place right where Lake Champlain and Lake George meet. When the Americans took over Fort Ticonderoga at the beginning of the Revolution, it was looked on as a major frontier outpost. So Kosciusko was sent there to observe and make sure that the fortifications were in sufficient shape to repel any kind of invasion from Canada. He was Gates' chief engineering officer, but there was a Major Baldwin who was the chief engineer at Ticonderoga. So when he arrives at Ticonderoga, I think initially Major Baldwin is probably a little, I don't know if upset is the right word, but concerned at least. Who is this new person coming in to look at what I'm doing? When Kosciusko made his report, he made several comments about individual fortifications and the need to change some of the alignment and add some blockhouses and so forth. But the major thing that he suggested was that if you looked at Sugarloaf Hill, which was a hill a few hundred yards away from Fort Ticonderoga that overlooked the fort, that if you looked at that hill and could envision the British hauling cannons up to the top of that hill, the cannons would overlook the fort and would be able to shoot directly into the fort, making the fort untenable. He proposed this to Gates. In the meantime, political machinations got in the way, shall we say, and Gates was replaced by Philip Schuyler as the American commander. Kosciusko was Gates' man, so to speak. Certainly with Schuyler replacing Gates, and Schuyler didn't know Kosciusko, didn't have the trust and the bond that had been built up between Kosciusko and Gates. So to Schuyler, Kosciusko was an outsider and a foreigner. So Schuyler read the report, conferred with Major Baldwin, the engineer on the scene, conferred with Arthur St. Clair, the general in command of the fort, and reasoned that since this was a wooded hill and it was very steep, it was impractical to take cannons to the top of the hill. So his response to Kosciusko was pretty much along the line of, none of our officers think this is practical. The French before us didn't fortify this, so we think your advice really isn't worth taking at this point. And then when the British show up at the beginning of July, so they ended up clearing a road partway up the hill and then erecting a block and tackle and taking the guns apart, lifting them up piece by piece, putting them on top of the hill. And they were in position to open fire on July 5th. The very same day that the guns opened fire on Ticonderoga, St. Clair knew that he was doomed. So that very evening, the same day the British opened fire, he gave the order to retreat. And of course what happened was that the army was able to get away, but they left behind dozens of huge cannons. They had to burn a lot of supplies, food, medical supplies, blow up ammunition and arms that they couldn't carry away. Eventually, the British caught up with the American army at Hubbardton, Vermont, and administered a pretty severe defeat, pretty much scattering much of the American army. So that what was left was just a corps of a few hundred people who struggled south. So it was a tremendous defeat in terms of the materiel of war that was lost to the Continental Army because they did not take Kosciusko's advice.